First of all, it is a great honor for me to be here to launch this groundbreaking report on wastewater analysis to assess emerging new psychoactive substance and illicit drug use in Kenya. This report is far more than a scientific achievement. It's a strategic national asset, one that strengthens our capacity to safeguard public health, enhance national security, and anchor our policies firmly in evidence. Today, we are witnessing science and innovation at work in their most practical form. What people consume leaves measurable traces in wastewater. By analyzing these traces, we gain near real-time insights into patterns of drug use across our communities without relying on conventional data reporting processes. Ladies and gentlemen, the timing of this report is critical. Across the globe, drug markets are becoming increasingly complex, driven by synthetic substance, digital distribution networks, including the dark web and encrypted messaging applications, and constantly shifting trafficking routes. According to the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, World Drugs Report 2025, synthetic drugs now dominate drug markets in East Africa, with seizure of methamphetamine and fentanyl analogs rising by over 300% in the last 5 years. Kenya, by virtue of its strategic position as a regional transport, financial and logistics hub, is not insulated from these trends. On the contrary, we are witnessing a clear transition from traditional narcotics such as cannabis and heroin to synthetic drugs, a new psychoactive substance, chemical compounds that are more potent, less predictable, often legal in other jurisdictions, and harder to detect using conventional methods. What makes this report particularly significant is that for the first time in Kenya, and indeed in East Africa region, we now have scientific population level evidence of drug consumption patterns derived from wastewater-based epidemiology. Wastewater analysis has been successfully used in Europe, Australia, and North America for over a decade. Kenya now joins a select group of nations, including China, Brazil, and South Africa, that have adopted this methodology to guide drug policy. Ladies and gentlemen, the findings presented today are both illuminating and deeply concerning. The analysis reveals the presence of a broad spectrum of substance, ranging from traditional drugs such as cocaine and heroin to synthetic drugs such as methamphetamine and MDMA. Even more alarming is the detection of a new psychoactive substance such as synthetic cannabinoids. Equally concerning is the emerging patterns of polydrug use, the intentional or unintentional mixing of multiple substances, and the presence of a harmful adulterants. Substances such as ketamine and diazepam have been detected mixed with heroin and cocaine, significantly increasing the risk of overdose, long-term health complications, organ failure, and in some cases death. The report further points to indicators of small-scale clandestine laboratory activity within our borders, particularly in the production of synthetic stimulants such as methamphetamine. You will recall the disruption of a suspected clandestine laboratory in Namanga on 12th of September 2024 by a multi-agency team led by the Anti-Narcotics Unit of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. That operation seized precursor chemicals and finished products, and revealed a sophisticated local production network. This is a stark warning. Kenya is no longer at risk of being merely a transit route for drugs moving from Asia and the Middle East to Europe and North America. We face the real danger of becoming both a production and consumption hub if decisive action is not taken immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, in response to these findings, the government is taking firm, coordinated, and forward-looking action. You remember that the president early this year made a public pronouncement that this year was going to be the year that we are going to upscale our fight against drugs and alcohol abuse. And I want to thank the multi-agency research team, because the research findings help us to do targeted response to this challenge. And it's important that we are here today not to lament or to establish what is happening, but also to take very firm and bold steps to ensure that we combat this menace. Therefore, these are some of the actions we are taking. First, we will institutionalize waste-based epidemiology as a national drug surveillance and early warning system to enable continuous monitoring of drug trends across all the 47 counties. This will allow us to detect emerging threats within weeks rather than years. This approach, I believe and I expect that it should also help us work with institutions. The institutions such as universities and colleges should at a very short notice request a research of wastewater-based epidemiology should be able to help us to deal with cases to understand the prevalence of drugs, particularly in our colleges and our universities. And I think that this kind of targeted approach will help us to understand the trends and have more targeted response. And I believe that I look forward to more and more of this being done and seeing the progress that we make in different parts of the country. Second, we will strengthen the capacity of the government chemist by investing in advanced analytical technologies to improve the detection and emerging substance and novel psychoactive compounds. You know, the research as presented here tells you that there are some of the substances that are novel, they're new, and may be difficult for us to really point out because some of them are legal in other jurisdictions, and now they are being used here either to mix with other substance or basically to be consumed directly. And therefore, we must invest in the government chemist. You know that we are also undertaking a legal review of the act that is governing the government chemist, so that we can strengthen that institution, its governance, its mandate, and now we need to also empower them in terms of equipment. Third, we will enhance intelligence-led policing to identify and dismantle clandestine laboratories, disrupt supply chains, and target high-value trafficking networks using financial intelligence and forensic evidence. I chair a national multi-agency command team of stakeholders who come from across the various agencies involved in combating drugs and alcohol abuse. And one of the areas we really are strengthening is the intelligence-led surveillance. And it's important to note that for far too long, we have only targeted retailers and the people and consumers at a very small scale. It's important to go now to producers, to producing companies, and the people who are making the big money, including the wholesalers, those who are facilitating wholesale trafficking. And that will help us to really deal with the problem from the source, so that we do not have to run around finding retail consumers. And lastly, Our ministry will work hand in hand with the relevant agencies, more so the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, in strengthening mechanisms to prevent diversion of precursor chemicals and pharmaceutical products into illicit drug manufacturing. This report reinforces a fundamental truth. The drug problem is not static. It is dynamic, adaptive, and constantly evolving. Our response must therefore be equally dynamic, anchored in science, driven by innovation, and sustained through collaboration. As we reflect on these findings, let us remember that behind every statistics is a human history, a young person whose potential is at risk, a family under strain, a future that hangs in the balance. The traces of drugs found in our wastewater represents real people, students, workers, parents, and children. This report, therefore, is not merely about substance detected in wastewater. It's about the health, the safety, and the future of our nation. I want to also to congratulate us again, reiterate my congratulatory message to the researchers for doing a fantastic job and laying a base for now further research going forward. I want to thank NACADA for providing leadership. I want to thank the NACADA board led by the chair for providing leadership, and I want to thank the CEO for being in the forefront in terms of these intelligence-led operations, which has really helped deal with this issue of drugs and abuse of substance. With those remarks, it is now my singular duty and privilege to officially launch the report of the Wastewater Analysis to assess emerging new psychoactive substance and illicit drug use in Kenya. Thank you, and may God bless you.